was in the Fulton Fish Market, which is where most of the fish that goes to the restaurants in New York City comes from. Rudolph Giuliani came into the Fulton Fish Market and seen that there were members of organized crime planted there with businesses that were legit, and he took them all out. So that was one example of ways that which they tried to slip into legitimacy, but because of who they were, law enforcement got them out. So the food industry was always a big earn for organized crime in the past and is present today. As earning capabilities been taken away from Cosa Nostra because of the government and the FBI, they went a little more in the legitimate way of doing things, creating companies that supply food. But what they would do is they would go to restaurants and insist that they have to use their product and their companies. So the specific companies that they would create would be the companies which supply the restaurants, whether it be pasta, sauce, cheese, water, and even imported food from Italy and Sicily. A lot of members of organized crime have purchased their own restaurants and into that.
Do you need...
They have took control of restaurants as well that weren't theirs. They'll come in as partners. So they would create companies that become vendors for food, which supply the restaurant industry. As far as Hollywood, in years past, organized crime had a big hold on the unions there, and that's how they were able to manipulate and control what went on in Hollywood with the movies and the music business. Sanitation was big years ago, and they brought a big case on it. Years ago, there was a big arrest of the private sanitation companies that were charging so much money.
Good evening, Doctor.
Towards local businesses to pick up their garbage. But even presently today, members of organized crime own companies that are private sanitation. So there's still a big presence in the sanitation industry. Tax evasion or tax fraud or money laundering is something that always went on in Cosa Nostra in the past and still to this present day. Illegal money that's being made in the street today is not being claimed on taxes. That's tax evasion, tax fraud. Yeah. Money laundering happens when organized crime, they're making money and they're buying legitimate businesses, restaurants, and companies. So they're washing the money, illegal money, to these businesses. Insider trading was big years ago. Cosa Nostra went into the financial center and created companies.
My son,
finding out information. The SEC came down on them. There's a lot of people indicted in prison as a result of that. They kind of pushed them out. So counterfeiting went on more years ago. There was always counterfeit bills, 10s, 20s. People were pushing this counterfeit money back into society. Today it's a little more difficult because of the way the bills are made. You know, the bills have specific emblems on them, wires in the bills. So the government made it harder for members of organized crime to counterfeit their bills. In Sicily and Italy, they use cryptocurrency, especially to buy narcotics. And I believe that in New York, the same thing's happening. A lot more criminals are using cryptocurrency scams and as a means to pay for things, to do criminal activities. Cryptocurrency would come into effect again, where the loan shark could get paid back in cryptocurrency. Loan sharking is a way in which Cosa Nostra made money years ago and makes money up to the present day, where they loan somebody money at a rate or where there's VIG involved. The VIG is the interest that they're making off the principal of the money. A lot of times people in the street life can't walk into a bank for whatever reason to get a loan. They'll go to a loan shark. Gambling is always going to be earned from Cosa Nostra. It was done on a much larger scale. They had casinos, illegal casinos, a lot of card games. Today, there's not a lot of that going on as it did years ago. But you're always going to have your bookmaker taking action to make some money. So a lot of times, gambling and loan sharking go hand in hand. There's gambling going on. Maybe somebody runs out of money. There's a loan shark. Somebody gets lending money. They borrow the money from the loan shark. And gamblers are always going to be owing money. So in turn, they go to the loan shark. So those two specific ways to make money go hand in hand. So gambling's been taken to a new level in present times, where now there is online gambling. Cosa Nostra has people who have online gambling, mostly in Costa Rica. They'll build websites and they'll have their customers go online and they gamble through the website. Years ago, it was all done through paper. People write things down. It was none of that online activity. As far as gun trafficking and arms trafficking, obviously it was bigger years ago, but every family has a member or certain members that are involved in guns, and you're going to see a little gun trafficking. Somebody's leaving the state or maybe getting guns from another state back into New York for sale or for use. So there's always some kind of gun activity going on in organized crime. Drug dealing and drug trafficking was done on a much larger scale years ago. It is a big earn for Cosa Nostra, but I think it's done on a much, much lower scale than it was years ago. At one time, prostitution was a big, big earn for organized crime, as well as the whole sex industry, pornography, all of that. Today, that no longer exists as a money-making opportunity. Years ago, organized crime made a ton of money through the 1-800-SEX calls. You call up, talk sexual with one on the phone. It was a big, big earn for them, so that's no longer available to them. Extortion is another means in which to make money, where years ago it would be maybe pushing up on local businesses, restaurants.
Good evening, doctors, and good evening to you.
Money. It's harder.
Do you need? Would have been.
People are not afraid to pick up and call 911.
Goodbye,
They're not afraid of questions. So today it's mostly where one business is owed money by another business. They would try to go about getting their money in any other way, and then as a last resort, they would come to one of us and they would collect the money.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you feeling?
As selfish as it sounds,
take half or take
the death of my mother forced me to stop drowning in self-loathing. So it's like
most of the business that we got involved
Do you need
in
any-
to collect money was the construction business. Whether it was a supplier of construction
Do you really
material
feel
or
better since your mother died, Mortimer? Or are you just more adept?
I'm beyond despair, Doctor. But I know now I will not try to kill myself.
Your mother loved you more than anything. I know she would have killed for you.
I didn't...
I...
Yes,
What do you...
that mankind is as selfish as it is generous. In fact, I truly don't know.
It's the same for us all.
I don't know if I'll ever have my mother's strength.
Goodbye, Mr. Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor. Still trying to...
themselves. One company or another company.
Goodbye, Milton.
One company wasn't paying.
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor.
Another
Still
way
trying to save
in which
lives.
organized crime got involved in construction was bid rigging, where a certain contractor would be given a job without going for bid. And that no longer takes place today because the government doesn't allow it. The government monitors what goes on with these construction activities. So bid rigging is something that really was lost. Another means in present times which to make money was fiber optics. Myself, I was specifically involved with a bunch of guys in our family. We were installing fiber optics for a big company, and we would get subcontractors to do the work for the company that we had. The companies did not have to put it up for bid, they just were given the job to do and told what they should charge.
I'd like to see your
goods.
Wise choice, Dr. Reed. A reliable
So
gun
presently,
for
Cosa
everybody
Nostra
needs.
is making money through the old methods and some of the new methods, like bookmaking, gambling, extortion, labor racketeering, the construction industry, the carting industry, the garbage industry, and those are always going to go on. Some of the newer ways in which they make money is through restaurant vendors and restaurants and legitimate businesses. They are even inducting members now that are legitimate people, that have businesses and
Good evening.
have money.
Please.
So some of the ways in which they lost earning capabilities is like the unions. And the reason being is that the government monitors the unions now. So the government kicked out members of organized crime, companies that were involved in organized crime, out of the construction industry, the fish market, and even the garbage industry. Cosa Nostra to me is like an amoeba, and it's always changing shapes and forms, and they're always trying to come up with new schemes and new scams in which to make money. And this will always continue because without scams or scores to make money, money equals power. Without power, there is no money.
It's safer here than anywhere else.
Welcome back to the Big Fight Recap here on the LTV Classic.
Did you see his eye? His eye was just hanging out of his head.
On today's video, we revisit the infamous two-fight saga between Mike Tyson and Mitch Vampyr. A genuine beef that 10 rounds of boxing couldn't squash, as the two would face off one more time on the street, this time much shorter, decisive. Let's get it. After Tyson's 10-round decision to James Quick Tillis in 1886, the invincibility aura hit Dynamite took a slight knob as the two heavyweights battled out a much closer fight than the boxing fans and bookmakers expected.
How disappointed are you that the knockout string is over?
Not at all. If anything, I feel relieved, and I'm confident if I wanted to, I could have knocked him out.
It was Tyson's first time going the distance, as he had finished his previous 19 opponents all inside the opening 2 or 3 rounds. That gave some of the other heavyweight contenders an incentive to catch this teenage dynamo early, halt the hype train, and earn the highest possible payday outside of the championship fight.
Tyson say, "Gonna give me a fight." I want Mike Tyson.
Shut up!
Boy,
There's one of
Tyson.
the
I will knock him out.
Mitch Blood Green was one of the first fighters to utilize the new age of digital camcorders to get his message out there to boxing fans.
I will show you some beef in your eyes.
There was no social media in those days, but local news stations and televised sports networks such as HBO would air the clips during the broadcast to gauge the fans' reaction.
I ain't no joke. My name is Vampyr. I hear my father. What's possible?
It's probably due to audio compression over time, but I can honestly say I have difficulty understanding what Mitch Green is saying. Too clear things with the muscle flexing and homophobic slur.
Good evening, Jonathan. How are you?
I'm still investigating from inside the Ascalon Club. Can we talk?
Of course, my dear.
I have investigated new sources of infection, and I may have found a
Hey
new
everyone, a
type of
quick
skull.
video.
One suffering from heavy mutations that is extremely contagious.
Skulls come in various forms, you know. They are simply degenerate versions of their makers.
I believe these families are different, and I'm currently pursuing a lead. I know I can find the true source of contagion by finding who created these creatures.
That would be great news. Be very careful, my dear, when dealing with such creatures.
How is your investigation going?
I have decided to explore beyond the dictates of reason.
What do you mean?
You may on occasion find this house closed when you visit me. If so, it is because I have gone undercover. Sort of.
Who are you going to surveil? I hope you're not considering spying on McCullum or the Guard of Prewan.
No. I intend to ask a few questions in parts of town I rarely venture into. Dirty places where a delicate lady like myself should never be seen.
When will you return?
As soon as possible. And I don't intend to stay away for long.
There are many paintings adorning the walls here.
Yes?
Did you paint them?
No, my dear. But some of them. I have had a long time to learn from the best. I'm currently working on what could be my greatest masterpiece.
What is this masterpiece?
Your portrait, my dear Jonathan. It will be my gift to you, if I ever have time to finish it.
Have you met any famous painters?
Are you trying to divine my age by cross-checking historical dates, my dear? That's a devious parlor trick.
Well, Elizabeth, I tried my best. Don't I deserve some reward at least?
Well, if you must know, I even posed for the greats. Now that you know it, you may recognize me when visiting museums.
Goodbye, my dearest.
Goodbye, my beloved.
Oh, I forgot about that guy. Oh well. Not gonna worry about it.
Video on merch. For those who have been interested in getting Young Man merch but haven't had a chance to do so yet, now would be the time because the merch store is closing in the not so distant future. Though what that means is that you'll be getting this merch for a lot cheaper. Everything is going to be 50% off if you go to youngya.com and on checkout use the discount code YOUNGOUT. You'll be able to get all this for 50% off. The sense of pride and accomplishment shirt that pokes fun at EA's most downloaded content in Reddit history. The surprise mechanics, a loot box shaped stress box right here, actually quite fun and quite ethical. The cup here that pokes fun at the Bethesda, Nuka, Dark Rum fiasco, various Young logo shirts, and we've got the keychain here alongside the hat. For anyone interested in any of this stuff, it's currently essentially in clearance, 50% off across the board if you use Young Out. And for those wondering what's going on here, why suddenly close down the store? Well, two factors contribute to that. A, it has felt like this has been taking too much time away from what I actually love, which is making content. It's the main thing that I want to focus on. And if something feels too distracting from that, you know, that's when I start questioning whether it's worth it. And that goes doubly true when there are behind-the-scenes disagreements or just creative differences that didn't allow us to move forward with new products that I would be satisfied with and proud to present.
Do you have any
and put out there? So eventually there came a point where it was just clear this was not ultimately going to be worth it. And we both
I used that name in my early years when I was
yeah, let's just shut it down and the partnership. Clear that with new products that I would be satisfied with and proud to present and put
I'm
out
afraid
there.
the real heaviness
So
has to be
eventually
sometimes.
there
I
came a
discovered
point where
ecstasy
it
as
was
a
just
solitary
clear this
pleasure,
was
but
not
it doesn't
ultimately
mean it
going to
can't
be
ever
worth it. And we both sent off across the board if you use Young Out. And for those wondering what's going on here, why suddenly close down the store? Well, two factors contribute to that. A, it has felt like this has been taking too much time away from what I actually love, which is making content. It's the main thing that I want to focus on. And if something feels too distracting from that, you know, that's when I start questioning whether it is worth it. And that goes doubly true when there are behind-the-scenes disagreements or just creative differences that didn't allow us to move forward with new products that I would be satisfied with and proud to present and put out there. So eventually there came a point where it was just clear this was not ultimately going to be worth it, and we both ultimately mutually decided, yeah, let's just shut it down, end the partnership, and just move on. Look, I'm so glad we got to try this. It's still cool that there are products out there with, you know, my name and my brand, and that people are enjoying them, and, you know, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback, and you guys have been very receptive. So this is an experiment that I'm glad I got to try. It's just this cool thing that I got to do for a limited time. I'm glad I got to do it, got some cool experience out of it. And for the limited few who got in on Young Yeah merch before the store closed down, hey, you have exclusive access to merch that you will never find anywhere else. So, I don't know, I'm happy about that and that people have been enjoying that. But, yeah, you know, there comes a point where you have to evaluate where you are in life, and I am spreading myself too thin at this point, from voice acting to content creation to merch and other endeavors that I'm trying to see and pursue. And this one is the one that I'm like, okay, this is just not worth it. I don't feel creatively fulfilled with the creative differences behind the scenes. I just don't feel like this is something that I want to make my priority at the moment. And sometimes you try something, partner up, and see what comes of it, but you come to realize it's just not the right fit, and you know that if this continues, it's just gonna just add stress and just make things difficult where it doesn't need to be. So you kind of got to cut things off when you're starting to feel like, okay, this is not it. So I figured, let's do what's best for me. Let's do what's best for, I think, the channel and the content itself, and me giving myself the time I need to focus on what I want to prioritize, what I feel is just the right path to move towards. And yeah, I'm satisfied with moving along this path. I appreciate all of you who have purchased merch and those who will be purchasing merch in this extremely discounted price point while we clear all the inventory. It is very limited inventory. This is it. This is the last batch ever. So if you want it, now's the time to get it before it all goes. I'm moving on from this one particular endeavor and just reprioritizing and kind of just shifting my focus to the things I genuinely love doing. I don't know if down the line I'll do merch again. It'd have to be with the right partner and people who...
Not every Apple product is important. In fact, most of them aren't. But one computer, released in 1997 to celebrate Apple's porcelain anniversary, certainly is. It's the TAM, the 20th anniversary Macintosh. And you may not have heard of it before now because it was an $8,000 grandiose self-congratulatory failure that really only served to highlight Apple's financial ruin. Steve Jobs returned to Apple a few months after the TAM release, with the company less than 90 days away from bankruptcy. And he blew the house by discontinuing the most legendary products in Apple sold and firing many of those responsible for said products.
Apple has pockets of greatness, but in some ways has drifted away from the basics really well. So we started with the product launch, with the product roadmap going out for years, and we said a lot of this doesn't make sense, and it's way too much stuff, and there's not enough focus. And so we actually got rid of 70% of the stuff in the product.
The TAM, it got facts. Its designer, Johnny Ive, almost did too. But as we all know, Jobs ultimately kept them around, and his good aspects of the TAM established Apple as one of the best industrial design firms. And we've got one right here. See, now, this is not the default, but it's 25 years old and is still in its original packaging. It is very hard to find a TAM in this pristine condition. And not only do we have the original packaging, but my landlord...
Bizarrely enough, as far as my research suggests, this was enough to land him a shot at the hottest prospect in the Red Box. Growing up, tough streets of Detroit, Mitch Green was a prominent player in 1970s New York team culture. By the age of 17, he had witnessed his father lose his life in a bizarre Western-style quick draw shootout. Not long before he was shot by escaped from but by this time, his ties to the street were pronounced, as he was now hailed the king of the construction gangs by the NYPD for his role as gang leader in the deadly Let's. Things slowly started to change for Mitch as his reputation as a gang leader succeeded by that of a talented amateur boxer. The muscular 6'5" big man that was racking up copious tournament success, including several New York Golden Gloves. Green took to the professional ring in 1980 and quickly started
locked, all right.
Journeyman French contender such as Jungle Times. Champion in waiting, Herbert Burton became the first man to beat Green in 1985. For Mitch, he couldn't out of himself, only losing by majority decision. Both Tyson and Green were on the fringe of a world title shot, so regardless of the antics, the two were on a likely collision course. The trash talk of Green just helped build more interest in the fight, which in turn certainly struck a chord with Tyson, who openly admitted to hating that ugly mother effer.
Mike Tyson, traditionally, no robe, no socks. He says it makes him feel like a warrior, makes him feel like a gladiator.
Tyson met Green for the first time in May 1986 in Madison Square Garden. It was Tyson's first match at the prestigious boxing venue, and also the first to be covered by a large television network. Yet, the occasion didn't change the tradition. No robe, no socks and tie. He was all business and had a personal vendetta to settle with the now not so confident looking Mitch Green.
And was so much a factor in the last fight. He didn't double up. He just was a little bit lazy, especially in the later rounds. So we'll see what he does about that against Mitch Green.
Always aggressive, great opponents. That was some head movement. Good shot. That's something I'm talking about. This is all funny.
About holding Green's in trouble. Good left hand by Tyson.
Everyone has a plan until they get their mouth guard punched out of the ring in the first round. While Green had all the physical advantages, Tyson's boxing speed, even the size of weight, backing Green with the opening bell, slipping his counter, forcing the much bigger man into survival.
I cannot enter.
Tell us, and what a shot! That is an awesome shot.
Tyson punched out Green's mouth guard again in the third, where after he started mocking his opponent, grabbing a wide open mouth, stalking him across the ring, landing fierce single power punches.
Another big left hook.
Tyson here, good up. Let's take a standing bitch. Another couple body shots. Well, he's smiling. Tyson's smiling. You see, Green has those fast names.
The fight became so routine by the closing figures, the crowd knew he was Tyson himself appeared to have his mind elsewhere, as he bizarrely kissed his trainer to get him moving, while he was trying to deliver an intricate strategy.
Kevin Rooney is in there and he's just jabbering away 100 miles a minute. Mike Tyson leaned over and just kissed him.
I can't believe I'm doing this.
Determination to engage allowed him to grab him punches with his feet, resulting in
Believing people that now going to win the fight so easy because of his style. He's a game of opponent and took some fairly decent shots. But as you know, I won comfortably and I didn't try to knock out. Like, just a great deal of discipline.
It's locked.
Tyson claimed he carried Green from distance on purpose to punish him for as long as possible. And whether it was true or not, Green's personal pride was hurt, and he was willing to do whatever it took to restore his sliver of respect amongst his peers. Green retired from boxing after the Tyson loss and returned to the street to earn a living for himself and drugs. He always planned to get Tyson back in the ring, but as his years of inactivity ensued, Tyson progressed to one of the most dominant competitors of all time, undefeated and undisputed. The days of fighting lingering contenders such as Mitch Green were over. It wasn't until a couple of years after their fight that the two would meet again, this time in Green's element of the street. In the early hours of August 23rd, 1988, Mitch Green got wind that Tyson was shopping at a local clothing store close by during the ramblings of the street. Tyson had traveled a fair distance to pick up a luxury leather jacket handmade by one of his friends over in Downtown Dams. As Tyson was chilling in the store with his entourage, Mitch Green burst through the door on his own, high on angel dust, demanding Tyson either give him a rematch or empty his pockets right there on the spot. Tyson, of course, no stranger to altercations on the streets, dragged Mitch Green outside and pummeled him to the ground multiple times. Spectators said that the fight was short, violent, and very one-sided. In fact, it was no longer than 15 to 20 seconds, but that's more than long enough for the heavyweight champion to inflict severe damage. There is no footage of the fight, regardless of the clickbait you see on YouTube, but there were many accounts of what happened, and all aligned, all except for Mexico, were equaling Tyson's sucker punch to the ring.
Who threw the first punch here? He did the second punch because he was friends, you know, and when he hit me, and I said, I couldn't even chance me to get so like I was, because everybody was like, holding me, like, so he could get away from me, and so he could get away.
The ring was certainly Tyson's scuffle, which became mainstream news around the world, and added a fact that Mitch had already heard the sport as violent he filed a civil lawsuit for $20 million due to the injuries he suffered during the fight. The former gang leader came away with one small W to coincide with the lawsuit's death, including the case of being awarded $45,000, close to what his first was for the possession of blood in 1986.
I remember seeing Mitch Green's eye. Broke his socket. The eye socket, yeah. Broke his eye socket, yeah. Shit socket. This be what I'm looking for.
There's an open window on the second floor. I should be able to get in through that.
Woe to you, nations of humans. For in front of you stands the tall queen. You can but lower your head, fit only to smirk at her soiled feet.
Can that be Doris Fletcher's voice? Where does it come from?
In front of you stands the tall queen. You can but lower your head, fit only to smirk at her soiled feet. Alas, poor Doris, I knew her well.
This is despicable.
Who are you? You who dared enter my realm. Are you here to worship or mock me?
She has a hump.
I'm here to put an end to the vampire epidemic, Miss Fletcher.
Ah. But Doris Fletcher is no more. She was consumed by this putrid flesh that now enshrouds her.
You feel anger for what happened to you, but I can help you. I'm a doctor, Miss Fletcher.
Doris Fletcher is no more. All that remains are the dreams of the queen she was, and the queen she'll be. Until then, all shall die, for that was her final wish. Your blood, my children, my beloved, die for the love of me. Behold, Kinslayer, the disgrace Your hand is shaking. Son of Babylon. I summon my children of the night. Wait. I beg you, wait.
What?
I don't want to die.
And I did not come to kill you, Miss Fletcher.
Will you spare me then? Save this cadaverous carcass of mine. Does your heart beat a little faster now? You fancy me then, Doctor?
No, Miss Fletcher.
No.
My dead heart will beat for only one.
Ah! Is she pretty? Is she sweet and tender?
To me, yes.
Ah! I hate her already.
I know. And this is partly why you must be destroyed.
She was pretty easy.
What you just said.
That I did not come here to kill you, yes. But I realize now the threat you embody must be stopped.
Will I be remembered? Will you?
You were Doris Fletcher, the greatest actress of her generation. No one can take that from you.
You know, I have it on normal, which is the intended setting.
Farewell, Doris.
Bravo! So dramatic. I love it.
McCullum.
How strange I seem to find you whenever I'm inquiring about that skull infestation.
I mean you no harm.
I'm not here for you. But once I've put all the pieces of the puzzle together, I'm sure we'll have a little chat, you and me.
Stay away from me, McCullum. You and all your war dogs.
That I can't guarantee, Dr. Reed. But I'll let you go. For now.
I should probably leave the theater right now.
Doesn't seem like you can alter the difficulty settings.
It's locked, all right. The West End should be safe now. But London is not. It would be wise to benefit from the Ascalon's protection while I continue my research during the Great Hunt. People want me dead. I need to leave now. So Doris just needed to be close to her audience to infect them. Contagion through skin. Very disturbing.
Well, time for dinner now.